Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name is FPL Phillips and today we're going to be running through some of my top midfielder picks in FPL for your drafts. Now these guys, I'm not going to lie to you, are going to be some of the ones who are in the most template team. We're going to be discussing some of the more differential options as we run through a few different players in different price brackets, bringing up some more exciting options as well as having a look at why the template is the template and why these guys have some great underlying data, why it is the most sensible option to go with the majority of these picks. So we will get straight into it and not waste any time, and we're going to be kicking things off with a player that you're seeing in the majority of drafts, but there are a lot of people who are choosing to go without him. Mbeumo at 6.5 million seems to be the most positive and the most highly owned 6.5 million option, alongside the man who we're going to discuss in just a second. But there's obviously good reason for this. Ivan Toney is out suspended, and Mbeumo is going to play, either up front in a front two with Visser, or off the right with Visser through the middle and someone on the left wing for Brentford. But either way, his underlying data when Toney was not on the pitch last season was very, very nice. And not only that, he is also going to have penalty taking duties for Brentford for the first couple of months of the season at least. The Brentford fixtures are rather nice as well, and all in all, there is just a lot going Bryan Mbeumo's way. Even last season, in total, when you look at the statistics with Toney included, then Bryan Mbeumo was more than capable of hanging with some of the forward options he was competing with. And so, Price is a midfielder now, position changed back into the spot where he's going to get that extra point for the goal. He's going to have a lot more upside as a midfielder than he even did as a forward. So I would have had him in at this price as a striker. I'm definitely going to have him in at this price as a midfielder. And although he's got more competition for spots because there are a lot of good midfield options in FPL this year, I still think Mbeumo is one that you should probably be prioritising in your sides. And the man that many people are choosing to go against Mbeumo and going for instead, or sometimes together, they're definitely not exclusive, you can own both, is Mitoma of Brighton. And he seems to be the most popular Brighton pick. And Ciso is also one I'm seeing in quite a few teams, 5.5 million for him, so you save the extra million. But unfortunately, speaking to Brighton fans, listening to what people are saying on Twitter, it seems like Enciso might face some pretty significant minutes risk from the likes of João Pedro, who Brighton have bought in. So we can't be assured that Enciso is going to get the kind of game time that we're going to see from Mitoma and the other 6.5 million Brighton mid. So even Pascal Gross could provide a nice option, for example. You're not really seeing Gross or equally Solly Marge in many drafts at the moment. It's all about this guy, Mitoma, who had a fantastic 22-23 campaign. All in all, he had that kind of purple patch where he was really, really strong throughout that kind of mid-season spell towards the end. His numbers kind of dropped off a little bit, but I still think he could be a really, really enticing option, and we know how good those Brighton fixtures are. Luton in game week 1 at home is a great way to start off. Then Wolves, West Ham United. They face Newcastle in game week 4, which is their toughest of the opening 4 fixtures. But that is a really nice fixture run to start off the season. And if Brighton can continue under De Zerbi to perform how we saw they were doing last season, then I think it's no doubt that Mitoma should be highly considered for your draft. So when we're trying to keep Trent in our teams and not downgrade in defence and not sacrifice him, going for two options like Mitoma and Mbeumo at 6.5 does look like it's nice. But when we're trying to hit all those price points at the start of the season, many people are wisely making the decision to kind of just go and try and cover all the price points. So whichever one of Mitoma or Mbeumo gets off to the best start, you could easily switch over and then say you can cover all the other price points by having a more premium midfielder, maybe even a cheaper mid, plus like that kind of 8 million, 7.5 million range, which we're going to discuss now. So yeah, Mitoma's data looks really, really good. I think Mbeumo's is superior, especially when we compare without Toney on the pitch, which I've done using the player heat maps tool over on the Fantasy Football Fix website. Absolutely swear by that for when you're comparing players on the pitch versus off the pitch, teammates, other players, doesn't really matter. You can do so much with that tool, compare certain game week spells as well, which I've had a look and a delve at. And overall, my conclusion is that Mbeumo just pips it at the moment. If I had to have one in my team, I would have Mbeumo in over Mitoma, which perhaps isn't the most popular decision, to be said, amongst the FPL community right now, but that is my 2 cents on that. We'll move on, though, and have a discuss about another midfielder, and that is going to be James Maddison, who is now, of course, at Spurs. So you're seeing the data on screen from the 22-23 season, where he was obviously at Leicester, but he is now in the Spurs side where he doesn't have the worst start to the season in terms of fixtures. We've got Brentford in game week 1, United is a tough game in game week 2, but they are at home for that one, and then 2 away games against Bournemouth and Burnley. Seems like a pretty nice fixture run to start off the season for Spurs, and this is definitely one of those ones where you have to keep your eye on it in pre-season. But what I was discussing about price brackets before, I think the 7.5 million to the 8 million range, there's Maddison, there's also Phil Foden, and there's also Martinelli, and I think the majority of teams are going to have one player from that spot unless you're going really investing in your midfield, probably sacrificing Trent in defence and going with Bruno, Saka and Rashford as 3 midfielders, all priced 8.5 million or above. But I think it's wise to cover this price point. I like the flexibility it gives you with switching over to someone like a Phil Foden, or indeed if you save 0.5 in the bank, you could go for Martinelli. Equally, if you do go for the Brazilian during the first 3 games, you could downgrade to Maddison, because Arsenal's fixtures are very lovely for the opening set, and then you could switch over when Spurs are coming probably into their best 2 fixtures with Bournemouth and Burnley in game week 3 and 4. If Martinelli's not performing, or we're seeing a significant minutes risk from Trossard with some early subs, you could make the switch over to someone like James Maddison or Foden at that point in the season. Once those 2 more uncertain, you'd say, in terms of minutes, are confirmed, we'd be able to switch over to the likes of those. So yeah, I think Maddison will get a significant chunk of game time at Spurs, more than is going to be confirmed by Martinelli or Foden, more that we're aware. And yeah, he's going to have some set-piece responsibilities, you would think. Whether he's going to be able to take them off the likes of Kane for penalties, of course not. But free kicks, I think Maddison will be on them. Any Spurs fans can confirm otherwise. Pedro Porro's taken a few last season, but I think James Maddison will be the strongest set-piece taker at the club. He'll be on corners as well. And I think, yeah, overall this data in a relegated Leicester side translated into a team like Spurs, who you're hopefully going to see some improvement from at the start of the season if they want to be with any shot of getting into the Champions League spaces and up into Europe ultimately, then I think Maddison could be your guy. He got 10 goals, 9 assists in 30 games. I think that's pretty decent numbers considering where Leicester did finish in the Premier League and on how many points and how poor they looked at certain points in the season. I still think he'll be a very key influential player at Spurs. I don't think they've got too many other options in terms of creativity. You've got Harry Kane to put it away. If he stays at the club, I'm not sure how likely that's looking at the moment. It's all a bit up in the air. But ultimately, whoever it is playing through the middle, Heung-min Son, Richarlison, I think Maddison's going to be providing for them and ultimately going to be picking up a lot of assists as well as hopefully some goals. So yeah, I like Maddison as an option. Whether I start with him is going to be the question with regards to that. Going with someone more like a Martinelli and then having the option to downgrade with the 0.5 to Maddison or Foden is probably the preferred way I'd go. If you're looking to be a little bit more dareish, I think maybe starting from Foden from the off could be the play. But Maddison he's got that uncertainty as we've not seen him play at Spurs, just like Martinelli and Foden have perhaps got more uncertainty surrounding their minutes. But I really do like James Maddison as a pick, and I hope that he comes good at Spurs and provides us with a difficult decision to make at that price bracket early on in the season. And then finally, we're going to discuss the second player, and that is Bruno Fernandes. So this is the last one to round off the list. It's actually our 4th player we're discussing, but yeah, the price bracket of 8.5 million up to that 9 million from Marcus Rashford, who presents the only real option at that price point alongside Heung-min Son. I think Fernandes, Saka and Rashford are going to be the most popular. I don't think that. They are the most popular at the moment. But Bruno Fernandes is kind of my pick of the bunch, to be honest. I think if you ask most people who they'd have nailed in their side, it's going to be Bukayo Saka. Penalty duties, well, Bruno has those as well. But Saka's kind of nailed for minutes in that Arsenal side, just as Bruno is for Manchester United. But Saka does have that added attacking threat in that he's more a source of goals than Bruno is at United in that Arsenal side. I think, though, Bruno Fernandes is going to shine this season. I think the addition of Mason Mount into the Manchester United system is going to be something that people catch on quite early, and it is going to work very well under Erik ten Hag. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, bringing in Mason Mount to the club. He's clear that he wanted him in the system. Mount's not going to take away anything in terms of returns, I don't think, from Bruno Fernandes. I think, if anything, this system with Manchester United is going to work wonders if they can bring in a number 9 as well. So that is one thing basically to keep an eye on with Manchester United as a whole, is that Bruno Fernandes, I think, offers a better option than Marcus Rashford if Manchester United bring in a striker. And that's kind of the if at the moment. That is going to be unconfirmed. We're not going to know it for at least a few more days now. At the speed Manchester United do transfer business, it could be at least a couple of weeks, or the season may well have started before they manage to bring in a striker. So at that point, when we get a little bit closer to game week 1, we might have to have a rethink and generally consider if Marcus Rashford is going to provide the better option if he's playing through the middle as that number 9. So yeah, Bruno Fernandes, I hope that the underlying data from last season is something to go on and he presents a fantastic option. With no real striker in that team last season, he still had the highest amount of big chances created in the league. He also, had the most attempted assists as well, I believe, expected assists, all going in his favour. When you compare per 90, only De Bruyne is the one ahead of him. But De Bruyne, we never really know about his minutes. Did pick up an injury or two there, had that kind of spell where he was benched by Pep. And of course, he's got that injury at the moment, which means he might miss out on the start of the season, which is that kind of thing that's making Phil Foden such an appealing option at the moment. So with Fernandes up there, competing in terms of numbers with Kevin De Bruyne at 8.5 million, I think he has been priced too cheaply. Marcus Rashford as well, to be honest. They probably should have both been 0.5 more expensive, along with Bukayo Saka. But I really like the look of Bruno Fernandes. Maybe it's one of my Manchester United buyers talking, so I will just disclose that for you, that I'm a Manchester United fan. But yeah, let me know who you would have if you could only have one out of Fernandes, Saka, Marcus Rashford, and I guess Heung-min Son as well, who I haven't really talked about, but I know some people are going to fancy as an option in their Game Week 1 sides. Let me know that. That's your question you can answer down below in the comments. Leave your comment down there, and I'll get back to you with any other questions you've got regarding your teams. Leave them there as well. I'll see what I can do in the comments section. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you did enjoy it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.